Now, we live in a time of great change here in America, and it's a time of great challenges as well. Now, with respect to race, for example, it's clear we've made significant progress. Just look at the resident president. On the other hand, when you think about the Trayvon Martin case down in Florida, it's clear that we still have a ways to go. Perhaps even more topical, however, is the subject of gay marriage, especially after President Obama's recent announcement of support just this month. So questions of race and sexual orientation are certainly important ones, but I want to draw your attention to another subject that I think is too often ignored, and I'm speaking of lactose intolerance. Now, as with questions of racism or homophobia, there's no really good reason to think that attitudes towards lactose are hardwired at birth. Now, to be sure, people tend to adopt attitudes of those that they grow up with in the surrounding society, but even there's no a priori reason why these attitudes themselves have to be so often against lactose. Now, after all, what is lactose? Well, of course, it's simply a sugar. Now, we're okay with maltose, and we're okay with fructose, and for some strange reason, we're actually okay with sucrose, despite the fact that as a disaccharide, it's trying to go both ways. No, for some reason, it's still socially acceptable to exhibit a remarkably high degree of lactose intolerance, even in some of the most rarefied circles of society. Now, as a child, I grew up on a dairy farm where such attitudes were basically unthinkable. The 100% whole milk that we drank, or as we called it, milk, was about as lactose happy as you're ever going to hope to find. It wasn't really till we moved to the quote-unquote big city that I began to encounter lactose intolerance firsthand. Now, as an adult today, I'll have to admit that I don't drink much milk, so a lot of people might be tempted to accuse me of lactose intolerance. And to these people, I would simply say, look, some of my best friends are cheeses, foreign cheeses at that, and no, I don't even ask about their immigration status. And so addressing this topic, may or may not require legislation. I really don't know. I'd prefer not having to classify lactose intolerance as a hate crime, but it probably should rate at least as a serious dislike crime. But however all of that may be, as with any such issue, it really begins at home. So parents, teach your children what's right, and that it's not acceptable to discriminate on the basis of saccharidal composition any more than it is on the basis of skin color. Together, I think that we can make a difference, and someday all God's sugars will join hands together and sing, "Sweet at last, sweet at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm sweet at last." Such a good kitty, yeah.